Hey everyone. So yesterday's video was the 5 coolest things that I experienced at DEF CON 32. This is the counterpart to that. This is the 5 lamest things from DEF CON 32 just a few weeks ago. There's not actually a lot to choose from. I realized that we did a video about the badge and all of the controversy surrounding how the badge project kind of broke down, which I don't know if you consider that video fair or not. I've got a lot of feedback from some of the people on like the badge hacking community as well. And there's going to be a number of ways that people didn't feel represented or understood correctly. It's a shame to see that happen. I made a couple of adjustments to, the doobly-doo where who I was crediting for certain things. And ultimately I recognized like I'm not going to keep tweaking those statements, and I'm not going to just play that endless edits game because you'll never satisfy everyone's version of events. I think almost everyone who got involved in the bad project, the badge project, I think they did so with the best of intentions. I don't think anyone got involved hoping to like scam somebody or pressure somebody or fail at something. I just think it's really terrible when sort of on a business project, people don't make enough time for like actually signing paperwork that specifies in the statement of work, like this is what we want on these dates and who's responsible for what. And again, there's loads of chatter about how paperwork was being offered and one side was dragging their feet. And it can be really hard as a small business owner. I've been there where you're like, man, I don't really want to take this contract. These people, I don't know this, they're not agreeing to this. They're really kind of screwing around on that, but you're like, I need the money. So I'm not saying the answer is always easy, but again, if you're starting out, if you're working on new projects and you're just growing your business, protect yourself. Talk to a lawyer. And if you're like, man, I'm going to lose this job if I don't play by their rules, maybe you lose a job sometime. It's better than a ton of headache and cost. But that's a video about things that were decisions kind of external to DEF CON. Let's talk about actually at DEF CON, the experience for the attendees. I know loads of you said this was your first year. Tons of you were coming up to me, and I love that shit, by the way. Some people are like, oh, I wasn't sure if I should say, like, yeah, just come say hi. Like, if I'm walking, I'm going to keep walking, you walk with me. But like, I want to know you. I want to know where you're from. Is this your first DEF CON? What are you finding? Why are you here? What are you doing? What's interesting? So a lot of people I know it was their first DEF CON ever. But even those people, among them, there were people that were like, it's really kind of commercial, isn't it? I wasn't expecting that. And loads of you who've been to DEF CON for a long time were also saying, man, this is like, there's more commercialized than ever. What's going on? I think there's always going to be a drift towards that. And I think some of it is legit and some of it is just vibes that are changing over time. I think the venue didn't help that feeling this year because the LVCC is just kind of a very cold space. And there was no community atmosphere kind of like reverberating off the walls. It felt sterile at first. But there absolutely were, like, there's a lot more vendor influence I'm seeing. I'm seeing it really in the villages. Like, the villages are like, now it might as well be, the Hack by Numbers Village 123 brought to you by IBM and Pepsi. I think some villages are like, are they actually branded at this point? And if they're not, you're clearly like, you're seeing just all the marketing material of one company at a village. But yeah, like the talks that I saw, the talks were still pretty free of that kind of bias. So it's not, if you're there for talks and education and real knowledge that's not being influenced by corporations, DEF CON's still the place for you. If you're looking for the feeling of like a gritty hacker con, I don't know. Jump on the forums and talk to other people. Jump on community posts. Like, what did it feel like, sponsored or not sponsored? I know that's Black Hat's always going to be Black Hat, but there's a little more of that at DEF CON now, it seems. Which leads directly to my second point. I don't know, I think we're calling this a sponsored space at this point. What is the top end? Like, how big are we going to let the AI cyber challenge area be before you're like, all right, you're 50% of DEF CON now. I don't know if you were there this year. I don't know if you went on like people were just calling it the Disney ride, like through this football field sized space. But if this is the same sort of AI challenge, like DARPA project team, are they like buying this space? Are they a sponsor this year? Like, I would like to better understand what their relationship is to us and the community that seems to generate this much hype and prominence for something that everyone I spoke to was like, why is this here? And I realized that we have made really significant inroads with people in the government over the years, and hackers are not just on the outside anymore looking in. They are part of the system, and they are supporting with very important jobs, sometimes in the public sector, sometimes private sector. Sometimes these relationships, like with DARPA and others, comes with that territory. I would like it to be a little better explained and maybe at least pushed off to one end of the venue so it's not right in the middle of everything, the biggest thing that you have to walk around. Number 3 is a quick one. Didn't like everyone getting sick. And I know some people who are really still very, very fervent about COVID protocols would be like, if you didn't want people to get sick, there's no COVID protocols there. Yeah, I understand that. Like, that's a perfectly valid point. And I saw a few people masking, not many. I saw some areas with Corsi Rosenthal boxes that they had made for their area, which is a lovely thing to do. Sure, great. I would like to see this addressed much more at a national level with policies that actually require, like when people were all dying in fires, as I did that fire code talk a while back, we're like, hey, guess what? Building owners, big and small, fire code exists now. You need to have emergency exits. You need to have fire suppression. I would love to see, like, hey, look at all these people that have died from a pandemic. Guess what, building owners? Air filtration is this standard now. I don't care how big or small your building is. And plenty of private sector buildings have put out statements saying, we've upgraded our air system. But, like, are there standards there? I would like to see COVID mitigated at that level, not just shaming certain events for which protections they do or don't have, which people would or wouldn't comply with. And there's local laws. There's a lot of reasons that it was the way it was. It still sucked watching people get sick. I appreciated seeing people taking as much care as they needed for their risk factors. I was boosted, for full disclosure, I wasn't perfect about masking. I wasn't really masking much at all. I was boosted just before the event by a few weeks, and I was using Innovid religiously. I still do that. I know I did a video about it, I think last year, right? And it's probably not BDS compliant, unfortunately, but it's antiviral nasal sprays. If you can get them from Canada, you get them where you get them. I was literally in the room, like, with people who have tested positive. I've been around, like, post DEF CON, you're like, wow, I was sitting next to you at dinner, I was in a car with you, and like loads of people that I know tested positive over time, and you're just seeing these, like, on Slack days later. And I was like, how are you? I'm like, oh, you were sick? No, I was fine. Obviously, some of you know from the previous video, like, I was food sick, like something bad happened to me for like 12 hours one night. But yeah, I didn't pop hot. Hopefully you didn't either. Next point. Speaking of me being ill from food, I was also ill from food pricing. The food and drink price, I mean, I know, like, it's America in 2024, everything's expensive everywhere now, but the insanity of what I was seeing being charged by the venue and the few options even kind of near the venue, some of them are, yeah, you're getting $17 to $25 drinks, you're getting absolutely double digits on anything you could, even bags of chips sometimes. Oh, those are $12. You are fully justified in smuggling in as much food and drink and booze and anything you possibly can, in my opinion, when that's how a venue is charging. Were there even rules about that this year? Were you supposed to not do that? I was watching loads of people do that, and I was like, yes, please do that. Supply and demand, that is the wrong price in the market. I hated seeing the price gouging. All the vendors in the vendor area were great, though. So yeah, if you get into DEF CON proper, always some of the coolest prices on the weirdest shit. Before I get to the last thing I'll mention as a negative at DEF CON this year, kind of an honorable mention here, the perennial argument that DEF CON shouldn't be in Vegas. It comes up whether we've had an incredible DEF CON, it comes up if we've had a problematic DEF CON, it comes up if the weather's been bad, if somebody's just, it comes up all the time. The answer, I could give you the long answer about how the deep roots of the community, where storage, how that works, the, like, traction they have in the town with all the different emergency options that they need for different contingencies. I could talk about the fact that DEF CON is inextricably linked to Black Hat, that staff at both events, like, are going to be going from one hotel to the next, which works in town. It doesn't work across multiple states. Like DEF CON, I could tell you all of those things, or I could just tell you the TLDR. DEF CON's going to be in Vegas next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, because DEF CON is in Las Vegas. It's there because that's where DEF CON is. Like, it's actually as simple as that. If Black Hat didn't exist tomorrow, I would still look at you and say, like, why are you in DEF CON be in Miami? Because DEF CON's in Las Vegas. That's where it is. I'm sorry if you don't like Las Vegas. There's a lot of places in this world that I don't like, but I'll go there because something good is happening there. DEF CON is going to be in Las Vegas because DEF CON takes place in Las Vegas. You demonstrate yourself as a DEF CON noob if you push that argument because you would know by now DEF CON is in Las Vegas. Okay, the number one lamest thing at DEF CON this year. Is it a cop-out to blame myself and point directly at me? It's my freaking brain, the way it gets at events. I constantly have this fear that I'm missing out on something good that's happening, or I'm letting people down by not like being down there. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed when you're out on the con floor. And there's so many things to see, so many things to do. And I'm like, man, I've got to get back. I got to drop my stuff off. I got this con backpack and it's filling up with all different things and toting it around. But the moment I get back to my hotel room, I'm like, man, I just wish I could sleep right here, but I can't because I'm instantly regretting that I'm not back where I was. And it's so hard to manage that. I overcommit way too much to too many things. I was literally at Bobak and Nick and Aaron's talk, and then I had to instantly, as soon as that ended, I had to dash back to like the Horseshoe because I was in the poker tournament, bought in late, got through the poker tournament, immediately had to hightail it back for the Four Thieves Vinegar talk. And then like I was talking to Corey, so Cory Doctorow is like loving this talk and he's like, damn, I'm talking next and then I've got to get to the next. So he like has to hustle out. All of us want to be in so many places at once. And I literally have advice about this. I had a blog post that I'll link to down below. If you go into DEF CON, I'm like quoting Colossus from a Deadpool movie. If you go in just looking for 4 or 5 moments, you're like, if I have this list of, half a dozen things that I really care about, and if you can tick off like 4 or 5 of those, you just capture those flags, just consider it a success. You have won DEF CON at that point if you can do it. And I need to give myself a little more grace and be better at that. But I wanted to talk about it here because if that's how you're also feeling, like, did you extract appropriate value from your dollars and your time and your energy? If you had just a handful of really good moments, that's it. That can be enough. That's enough for a good DEF CON. And you're gonna become one of us. You're gonna keep coming back. You're gonna have the things you're like, DEF CON's not the same now because I remember when. You'll get there, but just try to remember that along the way. 4 or 5 moments are all you need. I had really good ones with you all. They far outweighed the lame things on this list. I've been doing giveaways again. I can't give away this silly mask that died in the last video because somebody else just won it, but I'm going to give away a sticker pack. I've got this and loads of other stickers that are also out here from the con. And yeah, I only need so many of them, so that's what somebody's getting in the mail. And yeah, I hope you have a really good time out there. I hope you come to Black Hat and B-Sides and DEF CON and other events in the future. I hope I get to see you. If I didn't this year, maybe next time. Before that happens, just keep being you, keep doing what you do, and stay safe out there.